In the bustling heart of a sprawling metropolis, where wealth glimmered like the stars, lived Victor Harrington, a man whose name was synonymous with opulence. With his towering mansion perched atop a hill, he commanded not just a view of the city, but also of the lives of those who toiled beneath him. Victor was a self-made millionaire, having built his fortune from scratch in the tech industry. His days were filled with board meetings, lavish parties, and extravagant purchases that showcased his status. Despite his wealth, there was an undeniable air of arrogance that surrounded him, a belief that he was above the struggles of the common man. Victor's life revolved around his success and the expectations that came with it. He was often seen in tailored suits, driving the latest luxury cars, and surrounded by a cadre of sycophants who adored him for his money rather than his character. Yet, beneath the polished exterior lay a man who had lost touch with the essence of humanity. He had sacrificed relationships for success, and in doing so, had isolated himself from genuine connections. On the other side of the city, in a modest neighborhood where the sound of laughter mingled with the scent of home-cooked meals, lived Jake Thompson, a mechanic whose life was a stark contrast to Victor's. Jake was a hard-working man in his mid-30s, known for his skill in repairing cars and his unwavering integrity. He operated a small garage that served the local community, earning just enough to make ends meet. Despite his financial struggles, Jake possessed a heart of gold. He often went out of his way to help those in need, whether it was fixing a neighbor's car for free or volunteering at local shelters. His life was defined not by wealth, but by compassion and resilience. Jake's days were filled with the sounds of tools clanging and engines revving, a symphony of labor that he found solace in. He loved his work, not just for the satisfaction it brought him, but for the connections he formed with his customers. He knew their stories, their struggles, and took pride in being a reliable presence in their lives. However, the weight of financial hardship loomed over him, and dreams of a better life often felt just out of reach. The paths of these two men were destined to cross, though neither knew it yet. Victor, consumed by his own world, had little regard for those who struggled to survive in the shadows of his wealth. Jake, with his humble demeanor and relentless spirit, had no idea that fate would soon thrust him into the life of a man he would never have imagined being connected to. As the sun set over the city, casting a warm glow on the contrasting lives of Victor and Jake, the stage was set for a dramatic encounter that would change everything. Little did they know, destiny had plans that would challenge their perceptions, forcing them to confront their values and the true meaning of wealth and worth. It was a seemingly ordinary afternoon when the tranquility of Victor Harrington's life was shattered. His son, Alex, a spirited teenager with dreams of becoming a professional soccer player, had convinced his father to let him take the new sports car out for a spin. Victor, though hesitant, ultimately relented, believing he could trust his son to handle the powerful machine responsibly. After all, Alex had shown an affinity for fast cars since he was young, often accompanying his father to car shows and races. As Alex sped down the winding roads, the thrill of freedom coursed through his veins. The wind whipped through his hair, and for a moment, he felt invincible. However, the excitement soon turned to dread when he lost control of the car on a sharp turn. The screeching of tires echoed through the air as the vehicle spun off the road, crashing against a tree with a deafening thud. The impact was catastrophic, leaving the car crumpled and smoke billowing from the wreckage. Back at the mansion, Victor was in the middle of a conference call when he received the frantic phone call that would change everything. His heart raced as the voice on the other end delivered the news of the accident. "Mr. Harrington, it's about Alex. He's been in an accident. You need to come to the hospital immediately." The words were a blur, and panic gripped him as he dropped the phone, leaving his colleagues in stunned silence. Rushing to the hospital, Victor's mind was a whirlwind of fear and guilt. He replayed the moments leading up to the accident, berating himself for allowing Alex to take the car out. The hospital's sterile environment felt suffocating as he paced the waiting room, praying for his son's safety. Doctors rushed past him, their expressions grave. Time seemed to crawl as Victor felt the weight of his wealth pressing down on him, realizing that no amount of money could shield him from the horrors of parenthood when faced with the possibility of losing a child. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, a doctor emerged, looking weary but composed. "Mr. Harrington," he began, Your son is stable but has sustained significant injuries. We need to operate immediately. Relief flooded Victor's veins, but it was short-lived as he realized the gravity of the situation. As he sat in the waiting room, anxiety gnawed at him. He needed someone to help, someone who could ensure his son would pull through. In that moment of desperation, he recalled the mechanic he had dismissed earlier that week. Jake Thompson had been in the area when Victor had needed assistance with his car. Though he had expelled Jake from his mansion in anger, something about the mechanic's calm demeanor had stuck with him. But could he really reach out to a man he had so rudely cast aside? Driven by a sense of urgency, Victor made a decision. He would find Jake and ask for his help, even if it meant swallowing his pride. Little did he know, this decision would set off a chain of events that would forever alter the course of both their lives. As he paced the hospital floor, the weight of his choices loomed large, and the realization began to dawn on him. Sometimes, the answers we seek are found in the most unexpected places. As the hours dragged on in the sterile hospital waiting room, Victor Harrington wrestled with his thoughts. The sterile sense of antiseptic and the distant beeping of machines created an atmosphere heavy with tension. He knew he had to act quickly if he wanted to ensure his son's recovery. In a moment of clarity amidst the chaos, he recalled the mechanic, Jake Thompson, the man he had so hastily dismissed just days before. Though their encounter had been brief, Jake's steady presence had left an impression on Victor that he couldn't shake off. Determined to put aside his pride, Victor reached for his phone. He quickly searched for the garage's number and dialed. The phone rang several times before a voice answered, "Thompson's Auto Repair, how can I help you?" "Is Jake there?" Victor's voice was strained, betraying the urgency of the situation. The receptionist hesitated for a moment before transferring the call. "Jake speaking," came the familiar voice, calm and composed as always. "Jake, it's Victor Harrington," he began, forcing himself to maintain a level tone. I need your help. My son has been in an accident, and..." His voice faltered, the gravity of his words almost too much to bear. "I think he needs you." There was a brief silence on the other end of the line before Jake replied, "I'm on my way." There was no hint of judgment or resentment in his tone, only a willingness to help a father in distress. Within minutes, Jake arrived at the hospital, his grease-stained coveralls a stark contrast to the sterile environment. Victor felt a mix of gratitude and embarrassment as he motioned for Jake to follow him to the waiting area. "Thank you for coming," he said, sincerity seeping into his words. "Of course, Victor. I heard about the accident. How is Alex?" Jake asked, his expression serious but compassionate. "They're operating on him now," Victor replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "I believe you might have some ideas about how to help him recover." Jake nodded, his brow furrowing in thought. "I can't promise miracles, but I do know a few techniques, some unorthodox methods that could aid in his recovery. I've seen them work in the past." Victor felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. "Anything, just tell me what you need." As they spoke, the walls between them began to crumble. Victor, for the first time, began to see Jake not just as a mechanic but as a man of knowledge and skill, someone who had faced adversity and triumphed. Jake shared stories of patients he had helped in the past, using his hands and his heart to mend what was broken. They soon found themselves in a hushed corner of the waiting area, where Victor shared more about Alex, their relationship, the pressures of his upbringing, and the dreams they had for the future. Jake listened intently, his empathy evident. "I know you might not understand this, but your son's recovery isn't just about the physical injuries," Jake said gently. "It's about the mental and emotional side too. He needs to know that he has support, that he's not alone in this fight." Victor's heart sank as he acknowledged the truth in Jake's words. He had been so consumed by his wealth and status that he had neglected the importance of emotional connection. As they continued to talk, Victor felt the walls of his arrogance begin to crumble, replaced by a growing respect for the man he had once dismissed. As the hours slipped by, the bond between Victor and Jake strengthened, laying the groundwork for an unexpected alliance that would soon reveal truths neither man had anticipated. In that hospital waiting room, two seemingly opposite lives began to intertwine, preparing them for the challenges ahead. The minutes turned into hours as Victor and Jake waited in the hospital, their conversations punctuated by the occasional updates from the medical staff. Each time a doctor emerged, Victor's heart raced, hoping for good news about Alex. The weight of despair hung heavily in the air, and with every tick of the clock, Victor felt increasingly helpless. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, a surgeon appeared, wiping his brow with a handkerchief. "Mr. Harrington," he said, his expression somber yet composed. "Your son is out of surgery. He sustained multiple fractures and a concussion, but we managed to repair the damage. He'll need time to heal, both physically and emotionally." Victor exhaled a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Can he talk? "Yes, but he'll be groggy from the anesthesia. You can see him, but keep the visit short to avoid overwhelming him." With a nod, Victor felt a mixture of relief and anxiety surge through him. As they walked down the sterile hallway, Jake kept a steadying hand on Victor's shoulder, providing silent support. The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting a cold glow on their path. Entering the recovery room, Victor's heart ached at the sight of his son lying in the hospital bed, bruised and bandaged. Alex's face was pale, and wires connected him to various machines, beeping rhythmically. Victor stepped closer, feeling the overwhelming urge to protect his son from the pain he had inflicted by letting him take the car out that day. "Hey, buddy," he said softly, his voice trembling. "It's Dad. I'm here." Alex stirred slightly, his eyes fluttering open to meet his father's gaze. "Dad," he croaked, his voice barely audible. "What happened? You were in an accident." "But you're going to be okay," Victor reassured him, forcing a smile despite the weight of guilt crushing his heart. "You're in the hospital, and they fixed you up." "Did I wreck the car?" Alex asked, a hint of shame creeping into his voice. "It doesn't matter right now. What matters is you," Victor replied, his heart heavy. "You need to focus on healing." As Victor spoke, Jake stood quietly by the door, allowing the father and son their moment. He could see the emotional distance between them, a gap created by years of unspoken words and unfulfilled expectations. After a few moments, Victor turned to Jake, who stepped forward, offering a gentle smile. "Hey, Alex. I'm Jake. I know your dad. I've been helping him with some ideas on how to get you back on your feet." Alex blinked, his confusion evident. "Why are you here?" "I'm here because I care," Jake replied earnestly. "I've seen people recover from tough situations. It's not just about the body, it's about the mind and spirit too." Victor watched as a flicker of curiosity crossed Alex's face. In that moment, he realized how important Jake's presence was. It wasn't just about physical recovery, it was about having someone who understood the struggles of life and could inspire hope. As the minutes passed, Victor felt a shift within himself. He was beginning to see the value of genuine connection, of having someone like Jake who could bridge the gap between him and his son. "We're going to get through this together," he said, looking from Alex to Jake. "No matter what it takes." Alex managed a weak smile, reassured by the presence of both men. "Thanks, Dad. And you too, Jake." In that small hospital room, the seeds of healing were planted, not just for Alex's body, but for the relationship between father and son, and the unexpected friendship that was blossoming between two very different men. As they sat together, sharing stories and laughter amidst the sterile surroundings, they began to forge a bond that would prove vital in the days to come. Little did they know, the true test of their resolve was yet to come, and the journey to recovery would unveil deeper truths that would challenge everything they thought they knew about themselves and each other. As days turned into weeks, Alex's recovery progressed steadily, bolstered by the support of both his father, Victor, and Jake. The hospital had become a backdrop for their evolving relationships, where conversations flowed more freely, and laughter broke through the tension of their circumstances. Victor found himself increasingly grateful for Jake's presence, realizing how much he had underestimated the man he had once dismissed. One afternoon, as Alex rested, Victor and Jake sat together in the hospital cafeteria, sharing coffee and discussing Alex's rehabilitation plan. The atmosphere was light, but a sense of seriousness lingered beneath the surface. "Victor," Jake began, hesitating slightly as he stirred his coffee. "I wanted to talk to you about something important. You mentioned that you didn't really know me, but I think there's more to our connection than you realize." Victor looked up, intrigued. "What do you mean?" Jake took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "You see, my father used to work for your family. He was your mechanic long before you ever became a millionaire. We were close, like family. When he passed away, I inherited the garage. I've always respected your family, but I never understood why you distanced yourself from the people who helped you along the way." Victor felt a jolt of surprise. "I had no idea," he replied, his mind racing as memories resurfaced. "I remember my father mentioning a mechanic who was part of the family. I never thought much about it. I was so focused on my own ambitions that I lost sight of the people who supported us." Jake nodded, his expression serious. "It's easy to forget when you're at the top. But the truth is, your father's kindness and support made a significant impact on my family. We never forgot that." As Jake spoke, Victor felt a wave of shame wash over him. He had been so consumed by his wealth and status that he had overlooked the importance of gratitude and humility. "I wish I had known. I wish I could go back and change the way I treated people," he admitted, his voice heavy with regret. "It's not too late," Jake replied, his tone encouraging. "You have a chance to make things right, not just for yourself but for Alex. He needs to know that the world isn't just about power and money. It's about connections, relationships, and love." Victor absorbed Jake's words, feeling a deep sense of responsibility for his son's upbringing. He had always emphasized success and ambition, but now he realized the importance of emotional support and understanding. "You're right," he said slowly. "I've been so focused on the wrong things. I want to be a better father, a better person." As they continued to talk, Jake shared stories of the past, painting a vivid picture of the Harrington family before Victor's rise to wealth. He recounted moments of laughter, camaraderie, and the values that once bound their families together. Each story served as a reminder of the goodness that had existed in Victor's life before he lost his way. By the end of their conversation, Victor felt a renewed sense of purpose. He understood that he had a unique opportunity to not only support his son in his recovery, but also to rebuild the bridges he had burned with those who had once been a part of his life. The revelation of Jake's past connected them in ways Victor had never anticipated, igniting a fire within him to change for the better. As they left the cafeteria, Victor felt lighter, as if a burden he had carried for too long was finally lifted. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but with Jake by his side and a commitment to change, he felt ready to face whatever came next. Their journey of healing was just beginning, and together, they would uncover the true essence of family, friendship, and redemption. With the revelation of Jake's past weighing heavily on his mind, Victor Harrington felt a sense of urgency to change his approach, not just for Alex's sake, but for his own growth as a person. The bond forming between him and Jake had opened his eyes to the importance of relationships and the values he had long neglected. One evening, after a long day of rehabilitation sessions for Alex, Victor invited Jake to join them for dinner at the hospital cafeteria. It was a small gesture, but it felt significant. They sat together, sharing a meal that had become a daily routine. The atmosphere was relaxed, and laughter punctuated their conversations. Slowly, the walls that once separated Victor from his son began to crumble, replaced by openness and honesty. "Hey, Dad," Alex said, looking at Victor with curiosity. "Can we talk about what happened that day? I want to understand why I made those choices." Victor hesitated, his heart heavy with the weight of guilt. "I think that's a good idea," he replied slowly. "But I want you to know that it's not your fault. I should have been more responsible, and I should have never let you take that car out without proper guidance." Alex nodded, his expression serious. "I just wanted to feel free, you know? You always talk about success, but I felt like I needed to prove something. Maybe I thought if I drove that car, I would be more like you." Victor felt a pang of regret as he listened to his son's words. It was a moment of clarity that forced him to confront the consequences of his own actions. I see that now, Alex. I've been so focused on my career and what it means to be successful that I forgot to show you what it means to be a good person. I'm sorry. Jake, sitting quietly, watched the exchange with a sense of pride. He knew that this moment was crucial for both father and son, a turning point that could redefine their relationship. It's not just about success, Alex. It's about being true to yourself and staying connected to the people who care about you, Jake added, his voice gentle but firm. Yeah, Alex said, glancing at Jake with appreciation. I guess I've been caught up in trying to impress you, Dad. I just wanted to make you proud. Victor felt tears prick at the corners of his eyes. You don't need to impress me. I'm proud of you just for being who you are. I want to support your dreams, not dictate them. In that moment, Victor realized how far they had come since the accident. The pain of the past was still fresh, but it had led them to this pivotal conversation, a chance for healing and understanding. He understood that being a father meant not only providing for his son but being present, emotionally and mentally. As they sat together, sharing stories and laughter, Victor made a silent vow to change. He wanted to be more than just a successful businessman. He wanted to be a better father, friend, and person. The road ahead would not be easy, but with Jake's support and Alex's willingness to communicate, he felt hopeful. Later that evening, as they finished their meal, Victor turned to Jake. Thank you for being here. I've realized that I need people like you in my life. People who remind me of what really matters. Jake smiled, a warmth in his eyes. We all need each other, Victor. It's never too late to change. In that hospital cafeteria, amidst the noise and bustle, a new chapter began for Victor, Alex, and Jake. They were no longer just a millionaire, a mechanic, and a troubled son. They were a family bound by shared experiences, understanding, and a commitment to grow together. The journey of healing had just begun, and with each passing day, they would uncover the true meaning of strength, support, and redemption. As Alex continued to recover, the bond between him, Victor, and Jake deepened. The hospital became a place of healing not just for Alex's physical injuries, but also for the emotional wounds that had long been festering within the Harrington family. Jake had taken on the role of an unofficial mentor, guiding both Victor and Alex through the complexities of their relationship. He shared techniques that helped foster emotional resilience, drawing on his own experiences of overcoming adversity. With each session, they learned to communicate more openly, expressing their fears, hopes, and dreams. One afternoon, as they sat in Alex's hospital room, Victor noticed how much stronger his son appeared. The bruises were fading, and his spirit was rekindling, bolstered by the support of both his father and Jake. How are you feeling today, buddy? Victor asked, a genuine smile on his face. Better, Alex replied, his voice steady. I've been thinking a lot about what we've talked about. I want to get back to soccer as soon as I can. Victor nodded, feeling a swell of pride. That's great to hear. We'll work on a recovery plan together. But remember, it's not just about getting back on the field, it's about taking care of yourself, too. Jake chimed in, and you'll need to build your strength mentally as well as physically. It's a journey, and we're in it together. As the conversation flowed, Jake noticed a change in Victor. The millionaire who had once seemed aloof and arrogant was now genuinely engaged, listening and responding with empathy. It was a testament to the transformative power of vulnerability and connection. In the following weeks, Alex's recovery became a joint effort. Jake introduced physical exercises that combined rehabilitation with fun activities, making the process enjoyable. They played games that tested Alex's agility and coordination, allowing them to bond over shared laughter. One day, as they finished a session, Jake asked, "How about we take this outside for some fresh air?" Victor glanced at Alex, who nodded enthusiastically. They wheeled Alex's hospital bed into the garden, where the sun bathed them in warmth. It was a beautiful day, and the vibrant flowers around them seemed to mirror the blossoming relationship between the three of them. As they settled in the garden, Jake spoke candidly. You know, Alex, I've seen a lot of kids come through tough times, but the ones who truly recover are the ones who have a support system. You've got your dad and me, and that's powerful. Alex looked at Victor, his expression earnest. Dad, I appreciate everything you've done for me. I know I made a mistake, but I'm really trying to learn from it. Victor felt a rush of emotion. And I appreciate you, Alex. We're learning together, and that's what matters. I want you to know that I'll always be here for you, no matter what. In that moment, something shifted within Victor. He realized that the true salvation lay not in wealth or status, but in the relationships he had built. The love and support they shared were what mattered most, and it was a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the garden, Victor felt a sense of hope wash over him. He knew that the journey ahead would be challenging, but with Jake's guidance and the bond he was nurturing with Alex, he felt ready to embrace whatever came next. Together, they were creating a new narrative, one built on understanding, respect, and love. The road to recovery was not just about healing Alex's body. It was about healing their family, and in doing so, discovering the true meaning of strength and resilience. As Alex's recovery progressed, the hospital became less of a place of despair and more of a sanctuary for growth and transformation. The three of them, Victor, Alex, and Jake, had formed a bond that transcended their initial circumstances. They had become an unlikely family, united by shared experiences and a commitment to supporting one another. One crisp afternoon, as they sat outside in the hospital's garden, Alex looked contemplative. You know, I've been thinking about how I want to approach soccer when I'm back on the field, he began, his eyes bright with determination. I don't just want to play for myself anymore. I want to play for the kids who look up to me. I want to be a role model. Victor felt a swell of pride as he listened to his son. That's a fantastic mindset, Alex. It's about more than just winning games. It's about inspiring others and being a positive influence. Jake nodded in agreement. Exactly. It's about understanding that your actions can impact others. You've been through a lot, and now you have the chance to show resilience. As Alex shared his aspirations, Victor felt a sense of gratitude wash over him. It was a stark contrast to how he felt weeks earlier, consumed by guilt and regret. He realized that Alex's strength in the face of adversity was a reflection of the support system they had built together. That evening, Victor decided to take a significant step forward. He called a family meeting with Jake and Alex. I want to talk about something important, he began, his voice steady. I've been thinking a lot about how I've lived my life, prioritizing wealth over relationships. I want to change that. Alex looked at him, curiosity piqued. What do you mean? I want to start a foundation in our community, Victor explained. A place where kids can learn not just about sports but also about resilience, teamwork, and support. I want to give back, not just to show off my wealth but to genuinely help others. Jake's eyes lit up at the idea. That's an incredible initiative, Victor. You have the resources to make a real difference. I'd like both of you to be involved, Victor continued. I want your input on how we can make this foundation a meaningful place for kids. I want to ensure that it reflects our values, compassion, support, and growth. Alex's face broke into a smile. That sounds amazing, Dad. I'd love to help. I want to make sure we reach out to kids like me, those who need guidance. As they brainstormed ideas for the foundation, Victor felt a renewed sense of purpose. The more they talked, the more he realized that this initiative could serve as a platform for healing not just the community but their family as well. It was a chance to redefine their legacy. Over the next few weeks, they worked tirelessly to bring the foundation to life. They met with community leaders, organized fundraising events, and gathered input from local families. The project became a unifying force for the three of them, allowing them to channel their experiences into something positive. Jake, with his background in mechanics, suggested incorporating hands-on workshops for kids, teaching them practical skills and fostering creativity. Alex proposed sports clinics, where he could share his love for soccer and inspire young athletes to dream big. Victor focused on securing partnerships with local businesses to support the foundation financially. As they prepared for the foundation's grand opening, Victor reflected on how far they had come. The journey from the hospital room to this new venture had been transformative. He had learned the value of humility, connection, and the true meaning of wealth. On the day of the grand opening, the community gathered to celebrate the launch of the Harrington Foundation. Banners adorned the entrance, and a sense of excitement filled the air. Alex, standing beside Victor and Jake, felt a surge of pride as they cut the ribbon together. In that moment, Victor realized that they were not just opening a foundation. They were opening a new chapter in their lives, one filled with hope, purpose, and a commitment to making a difference. They had turned their pain into power, their struggles into strength, and together, they were forging a brighter future for themselves and their community.